Let me ask you something, honey. And I want you to really sit with this question before you answer it. When was the last time you weren't tired? Not just physically tired. I mean that deep, bone-level exhaustion. The kind that doesn't go away after a weekend. The kind that follows you into your vacation, into your Sunday morning, into the 5 minutes you get to yourself in the bathroom before somebody needs something from you again. You know that tired I'm talking about. You're feeling it right now. And you know what you tell yourself to get through it? You say, "It's okay. I'll rest when I retire." Oh, sweetheart. Oh, you precious, hard-working, beautiful fool. You have been sold the most expensive lie in the history of modern civilization, and you paid for it with the best years of your life. You paid for it with your health, your relationships, your creativity, your joy. And the bill is still coming. Because here's what nobody told you at that career counselor's office, at that HR orientation, at that graduation ceremony where everybody was so proud of you. The retirement they promised you was never designed for you to actually reach it. I have the receipts. And today, Auntie Pearl is going to show you every single one. Now, before we go any further, I need to say something directly to the camera. And I need you to hear me clearly. If you came here for comfort, if you came here for someone to pat you on the head and tell you that everything is going to be fine, that the system is fair, that if you just work a little harder and save a little more, it'll all work out. Baby, the door is right there. I love you. But I cannot help you today. But if you are ready, if somewhere in that tired chest of yours there is still a little fire, still a little anger, still a little voice saying, "Something is deeply wrong and I don't know what it is," then stay. Because what I'm about to show you is not a conspiracy theory. It is arithmetic. And arithmetic does not care about your feelings. Stay with me. Class is in session. Let's talk about how this system was actually built, love. Because you cannot fight an enemy you don't understand. The concept of retirement as we know it. This idea that you work for 40 years, and then the government and your employer take care of you in old age, was not invented for your benefit. It was invented in 1889 by Otto von Bismarck, the Chancellor of Germany. And it was a political masterstroke, not a humanitarian gesture. You know what the retirement age was back then? 70 years old. And you know what the average life expectancy was? 45. The math is right there, honey. The retirement benefit was designed to be collected by almost nobody. It was a promise with a price tag that the architects never intended to pay. Now, fast forward to today. The rules changed, but the architecture of the game did not. Here is how the machine works in the modern era. Corporations need your labor. They need it cheap, they need it consistent, and they need it compliant. A worker who is financially secure, who has savings, who has options, that worker has leverage. That worker can say no. That worker can quit. A worker who is one paycheck away from disaster, that worker shows up. That worker stays late. That worker does not complain about the broken air conditioning, or the micromanaging supervisor, or the fact that their real wage, adjusted for inflation, has barely moved in 30 years. Your financial insecurity is not an accident, Coruscant. It is a feature. It is load-bearing. The entire structure of the modern economy rests on the quiet desperation of people who cannot afford to stop. And the 401k? The pension that became an IRA that became your problem and not your employer's? That shift happened deliberately. In the 1980s, corporations looked at the cost of guaranteeing retirement income to their employees and said, "What if we just didn't do that anymore?" And Washington said, "Sounds great." And your union, if you had one, was too weakened by then to stop it. They handed you a complicated investment vehicle you were never taught to understand, tied it to a stock market that crashes every decade, and called it freedom of choice. The audacity, miudo, the absolute audacity Now let's get to the part of the show I call the receipts. Pull up a chair because we are doing math. And the math is going to make you angry. Good. Anger is appropriate. Anger is information. Let's talk about the average American worker. The median household income in the United States right now sits around $56,000 a year. That sounds like a number. Let me make it real. After taxes, health insurance premiums, Social Security contributions, and all the other things that come out before you even see your paycheck, you're likely taking home somewhere around $38,000 to $42,000 a year. Let's call it $40,000 to be generous. That's $3,130 a month. Now the financial advice industry, and yes, it is an industry, it exists to make money, not to save yours, tells you that you should be saving 15% of your gross income for retirement. On $56,000 gross, that's $8,400 a year. That's $700 a month. Pull that $700 out of your $3,330 take home, and you have $2,033 left for everything else. Rent, food, car, insurance, childcare, utilities, student loans, medical expenses, and the occasional human experience of just being alive on this earth. In most American cities, a one-bedroom apartment alone is going to cost you $2,400 to $2,800 a month. We haven't even eaten yet. So what happens? You don't save the 15%. You save what you can, which for most American households is closer to 4 to 5%. And financial advisors shake their heads sadly at your lack of discipline, as if discipline is what's missing, as if the problem is your willpower and not the $400,000 median home price and the $200 insulin prescription and the childcare that costs more than college tuition. But let's follow the 15% savings fantasy all the way to its conclusion, because I want you to see exactly how the numbers insult you. If you start working at 22, save $700 a month religiously, invested in an index fund averaging 7% annual return, which is optimistic because markets crash and you will panic sell at least once because you're human. You will reach 65 with approximately $2.1 million. That sounds like a lot of money. I know, it sounds like you've won. But here's what $2.1 million actually gets you in retirement, according to the 4% withdrawal rule that financial planners use. You can safely withdraw about $84,000 a year, before taxes. Now adjust that $84,000 for the inflation that is absolutely going to happen over a 20 to 30-year retirement. Account for healthcare costs that increase dramatically as you age. Account for the fact that Medicare covers far less than you think it does. Account for the very real possibility that you will need some form of long-term care, which currently averages $90,000 per year in a nursing facility. Your $2.1 million starts to look a lot less like freedom and a lot more like a countdown timer. And that's the fantasy version, love. That's the version where you saved every month, never had a medical emergency, never got laid off, never went through a divorce, never had to help a parent, never had a single financial disruption in 43 consecutive years of perfect behavior. How many people do you know who have lived that life? I'll wait. Now here's the number that should keep you up at night, honey, because I convert everything into hours of life. And this is the part where the math stops being abstract and starts being personal. You trade your time, your irreplaceable, non-renewable hours of being alive, for money. So let's talk about what that trade actually costs you. At $40,000 take-home per year, you are earning approximately $19.23 per hour, assuming a standard 40-hour work week. But we both know it's not 40 hours, is it? It's 45. It's 50. It's the emails you answer on Sunday. It's the quick call during your lunch break. It's the commute that adds 10 hours a week that nobody pays you for. Let's be conservative and say you're actually working 50 hours a week when you factor everything in. Now your real hourly rate drops to $15.38 per hour. That's $700 monthly retirement contribution you're supposed to be making. That is 45.5 hours of your life every single month. That is more than one full work week, every month. Just to fund a retirement account that may or may not be enough, invested in a market you cannot control, to be accessed at an age when your body may not cooperate with your plans. Over a 43-year career, if you successfully save that $700 a month, you will have contributed, directly, in time, 23,178 hours of your life to your retirement account alone. That's 979 days. That is nearly 3 years of continuous waking existence, traded for a number in a digital account that a market correction can reduce by 30% in a single quarter. And this doesn't count the tens of thousands of hours you trade for rent, for food, for the car that gets you to the job. You are selling your life in hourly increments and calling it a career. The system isn't broken, querido. It's doing exactly what it was built to do. It's just not built for you. Now let me show you the con within the con, because this is where it gets truly elegant in its cruelty. When people start to feel the weight of all this, when the exhaustion becomes undeniable, when the math starts to feel suffocating, the market has a product for that too. They call it self-care. They call it work-life balance. They call it wellness. You know what I call it? A subscription service for your suffering. They burned you out with the system, and then they sold you a $45 scented candle to cope with the burnout. They gave you a 40-hour work week that secretly became 55 hours, and then they sold you a meditation app for $12.99 a month so you could learn to breathe through the anxiety it created. They designed cities where you cannot walk anywhere, and then sold you a Peloton for $2,500 so you could exercise in your apartment while watching motivational content about hustle culture. The wellness industry is worth over $5 trillion globally. Corazon. $5 trillion. Paid for largely by exhausted workers trying to recover from the damage inflicted by the economic system those same corporations built and maintain. You are paying them to recover from what they did to you. And then you're going back on Monday. The financial products are the same con in a suit. The retirement planning industry charges you management fees on your own money. The average expense ratio on mutual funds, over a 30-year investment horizon, will quietly consume between 25% and 30% of your total returns. They don't take it in a lump sum. They take it in small percentages, every year, because small percentages don't feel like anything until you do the math on what they compound into over decades. Your retirement, managed by someone else's company, is making them wealthy right now, while you wait. So what do you actually do? Because Auntie Pearl doesn't just come here to depress you, baby. I come here to arm you. 3 things. Not easy, but real. The first thing you do is get radically honest about your actual hourly rate. Take your real take-home pay. Divide it by your real hours, including commute, including the work you do off the clock, including the mental load you carry home every night. Write that number down. Put it somewhere you can see it. Every financial decision you make from this point forward gets filtered through that number. That impulse purchase, that subscription you forgot about, that thing that's only $50. How many hours of your life is that? Make it concrete. Make it cost something. The second thing you do is detach your identity from your productivity. I know that's a big ask in a culture that greets you with, "What do you do?" before it learns your name. But your worth is not your output. Your rest is not laziness. Every hour you spend in genuine restoration, real sleep, real stillness, real joy that doesn't have a receipt, is an act of economic resistance. A rested person thinks more clearly. A rested person makes better decisions. A rested person is harder to exploit. The system wants you tired. Choose rest like your financial future depends on it, because it does. The third thing, and this is the one that people fight me on the most, so I'm going to say it clearly. You need to build multiple income streams before you need them, not after. I am not telling you to hustle more. I am telling you that depending on a single employer for 100% of your income is the most vulnerable financial position a human being can occupy in the modern economy. One layoff, one medical event, one company acquisition, and decades of your plan evaporates. This doesn't have to mean starting a business. It can mean a skill you rent out on weekends, a rental room, dividends from investments, a digital product, something, anything that means your financial survival is not entirely in someone else's hands. None of these are quick fixes. I told you from the beginning that I don't do comfort, but they are real, and real is the only currency I trade in. Here is what I want you to carry out of here today, love. You were taught to think of retirement as a reward, something you earn at the end of a long, obedient career. A gold watch, a cake, a Thursday afternoon where nobody needs anything from you. But retirement was never designed as a reward. It was designed as a safety valve, a distant enough carrot to keep you moving forward, working hard, spending money on the things that help you cope, and not asking too many questions about why the math never quite adds up, no matter how hard you try. You deserve to rest before your body forces you to. You deserve to have a life that is not entirely structured around making yourself economically useful to someone else's shareholders. You deserve to do the math, see the system clearly, and make different choices. Not because the system will change, but because you see it now, and you cannot unsee it. That is the only advantage I can give you, querido. Not a hack, not a secret, just clear eyes and honest arithmetic. Take it, use it, and for the love of everything, get some sleep tonight. Not because you've earned it, because you are a human being, and sleep is not a luxury. Rest is not a reward. Rest is resistance. Now, if this video made something click for you today, if you looked at the math and felt that particular kind of angry and awake feeling, do me a favor, subscribe. Not for me. Because this channel is one of the few places where the numbers are going to tell you the truth. And leave me a comment. Tell me, what does retirement actually look like in your plan right now? Are you on track? Barely holding on? Or did you not even have a number in your head before today? I want to know where you are, Corazon. Because that's where we start. Class dismissed.